Losing someone close to you is a fact of life, but being common doesn't reduce the pain on the individual level, especially if you had no closure like in a disappearance or a murder. So many questions left unanswered, you'd find yourself scrambling desperately to get to the bottom of the mystery, sometimes taking things into your own hands to find peace. Winona thought Voxola and Wagstaff had something to do with her sister's disappearance, so she got a job and worked her way through the ranks, but one fateful day a portal malfunctions and begins to tear apart the radio factory. She barges into the boss's office to put a stop to it, but someone falls into the portal and it falls apart. And after rebuilding it, she sees her sister and reaches out her hand. With 150 health, 150 hunger, and 200 sanity, Winona uses her strong intellect and work ethic to jury-rig an array of machines made of sticks and stones to help her thrive in the unforgiving constant. My name is LimeLichen. Grease those joints and read those manuals while I recount just how it feels to play Winona. If I had to say anything about playing Winona, I'd say she's the scientist Wilson wished he was. Incredibly industrious and intelligent, she's able to craft every item and deploy structures twice as fast as everyone else. I appreciated it especially in the beginning of my playthroughs as I rushed towards tier 2 crafting as quickly as possible. Every second counts in a game where the clock never stops ticking. I say that phrase a ton, but because of my non-medicated ADHD brain, I end up doing things way later than I should in these saves, so I take whatever help I can get. But this work ethic takes its toll on Winona's body. She'll lose 5 hunger every time she goes into her flow state, which gives you a minute of fast crafting, and this will easily emaciate her if you don't have some munchies on standby. If you let her starve down to 50 hunger points, she'll have trouble meeting her quotas and take twice as long to craft things and erect structures. At least past this point she won't get any hungrier. I know I'm sluggish at work if I skip breakfast. This was the mechanic I feared the most before I even began playing her. It's not like food is hard to find, but I ended up getting trapped in tight resource loops as I ate my way through 3 characters worth of rations. I opened up that crafting menu a lot more than I anticipated. You can easily game the system by just bulk crafting items within that minute of time while you sit still. This doesn't stop the game from doing its patented don't starve bullshit though. When you even attempt to craft something but don't have the supplies, she'll still get hungry! What the fuck, Clay? Am I supposed to believe that even thinking about working sucks the nutrients out of her? You know what, I can't even be mad. Ever since they removed Wolfgang's hunger mechanic, they probably needed some other character to be the glutton. And speaking of which, she is also a confirmed alcoholic. That's right, there's nothing that says harsh blue-collar assembly line production like your favorite food being a cocktail. A Bloody Mary isn't what I'd consider a good post-grind drink. I'm partial to vodka sodas myself, but to each their own. As an occasional treat, vegetable stingers are perfect for forgetting your problems, but you're trading off the awesome healing and hunger of a single cooked toma root. Try to mix in other low-quality vegetables in the crockpot recipe, like corn, so you can still eat the rest of the toma roots. Actually, that's kinda nasty, ugh. Imagine eating blended corn and vodka. Being Charlie's sister, she knows her better than anyone, especially when it comes to fighting. Every time you find yourself in the darkness, Winona will dodge Charlie's first strike. That triggers every time you enter and leave the darkness and isn't some once per day kind of deal. I don't think it's a bad perk, but when are you spending extended periods of time in the darkness? Since you can't work in the dark, I didn't really make use of this free hit, at least not at its base level. Still great if you're caught with your pants down and the sun's about to rise. Stats-wise, she's pretty average, but that hardly matters when you can make machines do all the work. Why bother with them highfalutin ancient tomes and fire magic when I don't even have to lift a finger to solve my problems? Winona doesn't solve problems like, what is beauty? Because that would fall under the purview of your conundrums of philosophy. She solves practical problems, like, how can I stop these pesky weekly hound waves, flocks of tall birds or marauders from tearing me a structurally superfluous new behind? The answer? Use a catapult. And if that don't work, use more catapult. Like this 100-pound boulder-slinging comically large spoon, designed by me, built by me, and you best hope not pointed at you. She has 2 flagship machines in her repertoire, the Catapult and the Spotlight. The Catapult is an automatically attacking sentry, similar to the Houndius Shootius, but requiring significantly less resources, notably not requiring you to kill 2 bosses to get one. It can attack anything in its range that's hostile to Winona, dealing 42.5 damage with a massive boulder to the noggin. It's got an attack period of 2.5 by default and infinite ammunition, perfect for keeping any undesirables at bay. The spotlight is, well, a spotlight on a tripod with a motion sensor. When in range, it will place a small radius of light around one player at a time, which ends up being the first person in its vicinity. If you build multiple, each one will find their own target. This helps extend the safe zone of the base and lets you continue to work on the base or anywhere else as the light isn't stuck in place like a fire or dependent on using those precious equip slots. Especially helpful in the winter when it feels like you're sedentary as nights grow longer. I used them a lot in the caves as I hated having to trade storage for protection or light. Plus I got to use them in the ruins to gather Thulsite and Lichen since they can't be grabbed by those miserable monkeys. It doesn't produce any heat though, so you might still need to light the occasional fire. The actual light radius is abysmal as well, only slightly larger than a torch. Both of these machines need Winona's trusty tape as a component, an amazing tool in its own right, acting as a monumentally cheaper alternative to sewing kits, and funnily enough can patch up boats, only requiring a single piece of silk and 3 cut grass. Like any machine, they also need power to function, so we've got 2 choices. The standard generator, which uses niter, a common and lesser used mineral you might have lots of, or the gemerator, which lasts longer but destroys the gems used for power. Which one you use depends on whether you prioritize frugality or uptime in the case of the gemerator, as devices still drain power when not in use. That way you won't end up walking into base and realizing you forgot to pay the light bill. Any good engineer iterates on imperfect designs. While her machines are strong enough, Winona's skill tree unlocks a whole other world of engineering. Advanced engineering. From the first shelf, we have 5 perks to choose from. Let's get one perk out of the way, because it is the lousiest piece of padding Clay has ever done. And I thought Wirt was bad. This offended me on a whole other level. Why in the fuck is moving the buildings a perk you need to take? Moreover, why didn't they just have the handy remote be available from the start? All it does is wake your fucking lazy-ass catapults. Why wouldn't that be the default action anyways? They sleep after only 30 seconds of downtime. Honestly, I was so used to moving the buildings, I forgot how inconvenient it was before that. But if they were gonna rework her, why not just let her do that out of the box? I digress. Her other perks aren't as horrible. Hot Light and Spacious Spotlight solve the biggest deficiencies of the spotlights. Hot Light turns them into those reptilian heat lamps, allowing them to warm anyone in their beams, as well as heating thermal stones. Spacious Spotlight increases the somewhat short coverage and light radius of the beams. You could invest in both perks, but I tended to only use one or the other. Hot Light is my favorite, again for the caves, and for better fuel efficiency for heating than standing near a fire, at least to me. It works in all seasons and even turns on during the daytime in winter to keep you from turning into a popsicle. By the way, did you know that alcohol can actually make hypothermia worse? Yeah, it's a vasodilator, so the flushing of your skin can make your blood cool faster across your body, and freeze you to death. Hey y'all, I'm back from the island and what in the Sam Hill is this? Winona! Welcome back! Some of us at the group have been talking, and we have collected some small grievances we'd like to share with you. What are you talking about, Maxie? Grievances? Higgsbury, why don't you begin? I think it's undignified how I'm only ever allowed to make your damn fuels with my alchemical recipes. I'm not your Igor. You shut your mouth, egghead. You're lucky I even let you near my beauties. I'm sorry, ma'am. We're not here to fight you. We just want to talk to you. Woody, how about you have a go? Okay. I work hard picking twigs off the saplings and chewing through boulders. And you just take and take and take to make your confounded machines. I haven't heard a thank you for that yet. Hey, no one needs to thank you for doing what you're supposed to. My machines keep us safe. How about you quit making Beansprout tear himself in half for your creepy totems? Hey there, bud. This isn't about me, it's about you. And is he supposed to sit there and take it while he slaves away to make your precious Toma roots? I don't mind if it's for friends. What are you saying, Canuck? I'm saying you got a real problem with your liquor, you hick, and you throw it at us like boulders. Y'all have no idea how hard I've had it. My sister's here, and I was so close to getting to the bottom of this. Now I'm trapped here with you idiots, and I just want to relax and have a drink. Hey, we all lost something. You think you're the only one with problems? You want to talk about problems? How about you stop talking that weird
Winter's Feast is canceled?
Hey, don't you bring Lucy into this. I can hear that thing whispering. So what if she's a little talkative? Is it any better? I too am in this episode. There's also some low-level generator perks. Quick Charge, which charges your remote and other gadgets twice as fast, and Energy Saver, which makes all suspended devices not drain power. I take both of these for the sake of saving niter, but you could forego quick charge if you don't find that you use other gadgets often enough to drain their batteries. In the interest of getting the most out of this tree, I only get 3 perks and move on to the next shelf. We've got 2 sets of Catapult perks, but neither of them increase its base damage. Rapid Fire levels 1 through 3 increase its fire rate up to 20%. An Explosive Volley gives the boulders a large AoE up to double its normal radius. Rapid Fire I find useful for increasing the DPS of each individual catapult, but I wouldn't pick up Explosive Volley as it isn't as effective as double radius would suggest. It doesn't help when bosses start moving around the field either, but there are ways you can keep them in place to punish them. When we killed Bee Queen on the livestream, by the way, make sure to subscribe as I'm live every weekend at 10:30 AM GMT-6. We made use of the Ice Fling-O-Matic glitch to keep her in place while I targeted her with the next perk on the shelf, Precise Targeting, which gives the remote the ability to manually override the catapult's auto-target system. All the catapults in range will also synchronize their reloads and fire at the same time. Speaking of that range, it is deceptively short. Geography will be your enemy in any fight you plan to build these on. To fire manually, the catapults need to be within the circle of the command, but that's easier said than done. The circle is far too small to allow more than like 3 or 4 catapults to fire at once, which is made even worse by the fact that you can't place them against each other. And the generator's range is equally as pathetic. Jeez, you'd think a woman this creative would develop some gold wiring or something, a la Dr. Stone, that way we didn't have to have these devices in this stupid circular pattern. Or maybe Clay should make the range of the remote depend on Winona's position, rather than where she wants to fire. Wait, actually, what the fuck? Why does the remote's range change based on the targeted area? Why bother giving us the remote if we can never use the damn thing? It would be so simple to program too. Just make the range of the command a circle around Winona herself, but uncap the attack range to at least what is visible on screen. It already consumes a fuck ton of power, and the catapults are far from indestructible. I doubt that would be too powerful. We also have an option to increase the fire rate on auto-fire mode, which lets your machines work for you instead of spamming the button. Barrage boosts fire rate of nearby catapults by 50% for 20 seconds. Your generator's power level will be the biggest bottleneck by far, so greater generator is a non-negotiable. It doubles the generator's uptime, and doubles the efficiency of fuel sources, so a single piece of niter can restore full charge. You won't be stuck running back and forth across the battlefield to top them up anymore. I already made that mistake during the Crab King fight. Originally, I was gonna prattle on about the machines being the foil to the Moonquay's cannons and incredible fishing tools, and I do love them as they let me stay out at sea without having to gather supplies. But you can't destroy boats with the default catapults, and if you try to jump onto or from a boat and they're in the way, because they usually will be because the only place they seem to fit is on the edges, you will become one with the unfathomable deep. Oh shit, I almost fell off again. No! No, not again! Oh my god! 6 skills on the second shelf takes us to the third and final shelf. These are the affinity perks and offer the greatest divergence in Winona gameplay. I'll talk about shadows first, as they're accessible earlier in the game. Shadow Seeker has Nostalgia take hold, allowing the crafting of the rose-colored glasses, which lets you harvest nightmare fuel at shadow-aligned objects, which includes stuff like obelisks, chess pieces, stagehands, and nightlights. You can also cross chasms and lakes with the Vine Bridge by examining any edge. The next level gives a small chance to earn Pure Horror and gives you some other abilities like using wormholes and slimy pits as direct transport, selecting any exit at any entrance, and gaining a free life-giving amulet by examining any flower. Although when you die, it will spawn you next to the florid postern or a nearby nightlight, not at the place of death. So remember to build one if you don't like taking long walks. I guess it's better than having to craft multiple life-giving amulets, when for just a little more gold, you can have a permanent alternate respawn point. You also get immunity to Charlie's attacks, so you can venture into the dark whenever you please. But again, why would you, since you can't do any work while it's dark, except for quickly draining your sanity for extra nightmare farming? You won't be sitting there with useless fuel either. Nightmare Generator lets you use that nightmare fuel to power standard generators. It's basically free energy, straight from your brain. The perk Pure Horror Generator gives catapults extra planar damage. The final shadow perk is Shadow Strike, which allows Pure Horror catapults to shoot spiky vine AoE attacks, dealing 34 damage to anything that moves inside of them. Explosive Volley does increase its radius, so it can be quite oppressive. It's ideal for swarms of mobile enemies like spiders, monkeys, and bees. Bosses might not take so much damage, because they like to stand still while they pummel you, but I found it quite good against dragonfly and her larvae. Now I love diving into hole as much as the next person, but the wormhole perk felt a little too restrictive because it's based entirely on world gen, which isn't always the best. On the bright side, see what I did there? Lunar affinity perks are superior in every way, so you can switch to them after the mid-game. Founder's Keepers lets us craft the Inspectacles, which lets us locate grainy transmission boxes for scrap, electrical doodads, and some hologram items like the Calibrated Perceiver, which lets Winona scan any prefabricated item to gain its schematics. And doohickeys, which are used to craft the Windbots, which are compact versions of the Wobots, work exactly the same and don't need regular repair. Instead, they're charged with generators. I love these little guys, but my only complaint is that they operate on a very small radius and aren't smart enough to drive themselves to the nearest generator. Once again, all the potential of any machines are absolutely gimped by the generator placement. The next level lets you find advanced cache boxes, which for a Bioshock puzzle gives you even more components and gizmos. You'll also get a chance to scan the unstable transmission with a perceiver for the Portasol and teleportation station blueprints. They're basically the same as their single-player counterparts, but run on electricity from the generators, and have infinite range, but the power cost still goes up the further away you are. You could put them anywhere so they completely outclass wormholes, although they are expensive to build. You can't hold gizmos or doohickeys in chests or backpacks, as they're holograms, and you'll likely only get one per advanced cache box. Plus, you can only detect a new cache box every 4 minutes or so. Get ready to hunt for them a whole lot before ever getting to use them. The Enlightened Generator perk lets you slot in an Enlightened Shard, giving any generator infinite energy as long as you don't spam it. If you do, it'll enter a temporary sleep state and recharge, but the more Enlightened Shards you add, the longer you get to use the infinite power before it has to recharge. The Pure Brilliance Generator lets you slot in Pure Brilliance, which gives your catapults additional lunar planar damage. And the very last perk is the Enlightened Strike, which deals 120 planar damage in an explosion and finally lets us use the catapults as demolition equipment, felling trees, boulders, statues, as well as other boats, finally, and structures. You could clear fields of resources all without the help of our giant friends. Or any friends for that matter, but that's only a consolation prize for being abandoned. Winona has immense resource costs requiring endless picking and chopping and mining and killing and crafting to get all the materials for her machines. A multiplayer session frees her schedule enough to build while she takes advantage of other people's labor. She gets promoted instantly to foreman. Woody and Maxwell are non-negotiable team members for raw resource production, although Maxwell might also get mad at you for using all the nightmare fuel. Wilson, being outclassed by Winona, can at least continue to be a lab assistant by converting smaller fuels into pure brilliance and pure horror. And that's really all he's good for. Wormwood is needed not only just for food production due to her hunger drain, but also to farm her toma roots for her liver cirrhosis speedrun. To be a Winona is to be dependent on outsourcing, and just like her old boss, she's gotta exploit the proletariat and their surplus value, hoard all the resources, and poison the land. Otherwise, it's near impossible to farm fast enough on your own to build her empire. It's hard to find any special character combination that really needs Winona, except for the honorable mention of WX78, who can recharge their circuit meter with any of Winona's generators. Other machines can only be used by Winona, which is really dumb since Wartox has a teleport option for his teammates available through his hearts, but you can't just stand next to her when she uses the Portasol and be whisked away. That is definitely on my update wish list. It would make her an awesome escape hatch for a tough boss or supply exhaustion. She is fun, don't get me wrong, but she's not going to become my new main anytime soon. But don't take my word for it though. Pick up the wrench and find out for yourself just how it feels to play Winona. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry this took a while to produce, but being a college student takes more time than I originally thought, so expect my videos to take a little bit longer to release. Thank you to all my channel members, Desmond, Someone, and Wolfie. As usual, wait for the character poll in the community tab, and vote your heart outs, people! I'll see you next time, and remember, stay sour.